My friends, I need you to stop what you are doing right now, because what I'm about to share with you could put an extra $2,000 directly into your bank account this month. And I do not want you to miss out on a single penny that you have worked so hard for your entire life. I know many of you are sitting at home right now, worried about how you are going to pay for your medications, your groceries, or that heating bill that just keeps climbing higher and higher. I understand because I hear from thousands of seniors just like you every single day. Folks who are terrified they will not make it through the month on their fixed income. But today, something remarkable has happened that could change everything for you. A brand new executive action has just been signed, what is being called the January Stimulus and Tariff Rebate Program. And I am going to explain exactly what this means for your Social Security check, your SSI payment, your SSDI benefits, and even your VA compensation. Now, I want to be completely honest with you from the very start because I respect you too much to sugarcoat anything or give you false hope. This is not going to be automatic money that just shows up in everyone's account tomorrow morning. And there are some very specific rules about who qualifies and when you will actually see this money. But here's what I can tell you with absolute certainty. If you meet certain income requirements and you have been struggling with the rising cost of everything from eggs to gasoline, this new executive action was designed specifically with you in mind. And I am going to walk you through every single detail so you know exactly what to expect. Let me start by explaining what this executive action actually does because there has been so much confusion and misinformation spreading on social media. And I want you to hear the truth directly from someone who spent hours reading through the actual government documents. The January Stimulus and Tariff Rebate Program is essentially a two-part payment system created to help offset the financial burden that many Americans, especially seniors on fixed incomes, have been facing due to inflation and the cost increases that came from previous tariff policies. The first part is what they are calling the inflation relief payment, which could be up to $1,200 for individuals and $2,400 for married couples who file taxes jointly. The second part is the tariff rebate, which is designed to give back some of the money that consumers paid in higher prices because of tariffs on imported goods over the past few years. And this could be anywhere from $300 to $800 additional dollars depending on your spending patterns and income level. Now, when you add these two components together, that is where we are getting this $2,000 figure that everyone is talking about. But I need to be crystal clear with you that not everyone will receive the full $2,000 in this, and some folks might not qualify at all based on their income. Here is who is expected to qualify for these payments. And please listen carefully because this is the most important part. If you are receiving Social Security retirement benefits and your adjusted gross income on your last tax return was below $35,000 as an individual, or below $70,000 as a married couple, you should qualify for the full inflation relief payment. If you are on SSI, the income limits are even more generous because SSI is already a needs-based program, and most SSI recipients will automatically qualify without having to do anything extra. For those of you receiving SSDI, the same income thresholds apply as regular Social Security. But there is an additional provision that if you became disabled and your income dropped significantly in the past 2 years, you might qualify even if your previous tax return showed higher income. Veterans receiving VA disability compensation or VA pension benefits are also included in this program. And the wonderful news for our veterans is that your VA benefits do not count toward the income limits. So even if you are receiving both Social Security and VA compensation, you calculate your eligibility based only on your Social Security and any other taxable income, not your VA payments. Now let us talk about the timeline because I know that is what you really want to know. When is this money actually going to show up in your account? According to the executive action and the statements from the relevant agencies, the first wave of payments is scheduled to begin in the last week of January, which means we are talking about just days away from now. The Social Security Administration has said they are going to prioritize getting these payments out to people who already receive federal benefits through direct deposit, because that is the fastest and most efficient method. If you currently receive your Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or VA benefits through direct deposit, you should see the stimulus payment deposited into that same account between January 23rd and January 31st. For those of you who still receive paper checks in the mail, Your payment will be mailed out starting in early February, and you should receive it within 7 to 10 business days after it is sent. So we are looking at mid-February for most paper check recipients. But here's something really important that not many people are talking about, and I want to make sure you understand this completely. The relevant agencies are using your most recent tax return information to determine eligibility and calculate payment amounts. If you did not file a tax return because your income was below the filing threshold, do not panic. The Social Security Administration already has your income information from your benefits, and they will use that data to automatically process your payment. However, if you had any significant life changes recently, like you got married, you started receiving additional income from a part-time job, or you moved from a higher income situation to a lower one, you might need to update your information to ensure you get the correct amount. A special portal has been set up on the official website specifically for this program, and you can go there to verify your information or update it if needed. Let me walk you through a real-life example so you can see how this actually works. Let us say you are a 72-year-old widow named Margaret, and you receive $1,400 a month in Social Security retirement benefits. Your only other income is a small pension of $300 a month from your late husband's former employer. That gives you a total annual income of about $20,400, which is well below the $35,000 threshold. Margaret would qualify for the full $1,200 inflation relief payment. Now, let us say Margaret spent approximately $6,000 last year on goods that were subject to tariffs, things like electronics, clothing, household items, and certain groceries. Based on the tariff rebate calculation formula, which estimates that tariffs added about 10 to 12% to the cost of these goods, Margaret would receive an additional $600 in tariff rebates. That means Margaret is looking at a $1,800 total payment, and she will receive this money deposited directly into her checking account on January 28th, if everything goes according to schedule. Here's another example for those of you receiving SSDI. Let us talk about Robert, who is 65 years old and receives $1,300 a month in SSDI because of a heart condition that prevents him from working. Robert also receives $400 a month in VA disability compensation from his military service. Robert's total taxable income for the year is just his SSDI, which comes to $15,600. And remember, his VA benefits are not counted toward the income limit. Robert easily qualifies for the full payment. And because he is both a disabled veteran and an SSDI recipient, there is an additional provision in the executive action that could give him a $200 bonus on top of the standard payment, bringing his total to potentially $2,000 or slightly more. Now, I need to talk about something that is going to upset some of you, but it is absolutely critical that you know about it. There are potential reductions and offsets that could affect your payment, and I would be doing you a disservice if I did not explain these clearly. First, if you owe back taxes, the government has the right to offset your stimulus payment to cover those tax debts. This is particularly important for folks who might have underpaid their taxes in previous years or who have outstanding balances. Second, if you are behind on child support payments, even as a senior, your payment could be reduced to cover those obligations. Third, and this is a new one that many people do not know about, if you received an overpayment of Social Security benefits in the past 2 years and you are currently in a repayment plan, the Social Security Administration might take a portion of this stimulus to reduce your overpayment balance. I know this seems unfair, especially when you are struggling financially, but I want you to be prepared rather than surprised when your payment is less than you expected. There is also the question of taxes, and this is actually good news for once. The inflation relief payment and the tariff rebate are both considered non-taxable, which means you will not owe federal income tax on this money, and it will not count as income that could affect your SSI eligibility or increase your Medicare Part B premiums. This is genuinely free money that will not come back to haunt you next tax season, and that is something we should all be grateful for. However, I do want to caution you that if you live in a state that has its own income tax system, you should check with a local tax professional, because some states might have different rules about whether they will tax these payments. Let me share some smart strategies to maximize the benefit of this money when it arrives in your account. First, if you are behind on any bills, prioritize paying off high-interest debt like credit cards before anything else because the interest you are paying on those balances is eating away at your limited income every single month. Second, if you are current on all your bills, consider putting at least half of this money into an emergency savings account because we never know when an unexpected expense like a car repair or medical bill might come up. Third, if you have been putting off necessary medical care, dental work, or prescription refills because of cost, now is the time to take care of your health. Your health is your wealth, and no amount of money matters if you are not here to enjoy it. For those of you receiving VA benefits, there is an additional component I need to mention. The Department of Veterans Affairs is coordinating with this executive action to provide supplemental payments to veterans whose disability ratings increased recently, or who are still waiting for disability claim decisions. If you filed a VA disability claim last year and you are still waiting for a decision, this executive action includes provisions to expedite those claims and provide retroactive payments once they are approved. If you are a veteran in this situation, I strongly encourage you to contact your local VA office or reach out to a veteran service organization to make sure your claim is being processed and that you are not missing out on benefits you have earned. There are also special provisions for married couples where both spouses receive benefits. If both you and your spouse receive Social Security or SSI, you could potentially receive separate payments totaling up to $4,000 combined, but only if you file taxes separately or if you meet certain income requirements as a joint filer. The way this works is that each person's eligibility is calculated individually first, and then they check your combined household income to make sure you are not exceeding the limits for married couples. This can get a bit complicated, so if you are in this situation and you are not sure how it applies to you, I recommend calling the Social Security Administration's helpline or visiting your local Social Security office to get personalized guidance. My friends, I want to close by reminding you to be extremely careful about scams during this time. Whenever the government announces new payments, the scammers come out in full force and they prey on seniors because they know many of you are waiting for this money and might be vulnerable to their tricks. Please remember that the relevant government agencies will never call you asking for your bank account information, your social security number, or any fees to process your payment. If someone contacts you claiming to be from the government and asking for any of this information, hang up immediately and report it. Your payment will be processed automatically if you qualify and you do not need to pay anyone or give out sensitive information to receive it. I truly hope this information has been helpful to you today, and I pray that this payment provides you with some relief during these challenging times. You have worked hard your entire life. You have paid into these systems, and you deserve to live with dignity and financial security in your retirement years. If you found this information valuable, please share it with your friends, your family members, and anyone else you know who might benefit from understanding these new payments. Stay blessed, stay informed, and remember that help is available to navigate these complex government programs so you can get every penny you are entitled to receive.